Hi. So the next line of defense in DCF is carrier sense. Carrier sense is of two types. One is virtual carrier sense, and the other is physical carrier sense. This happens at layer 2 and this happens at layer 1. Okay, so the first step that a dot 11 station takes is to, it has to make sure that before it starts transmitting, the medium is available to transmit, and then it has to perform certain checks. This is the third line of defense in DCS, that is carrier sense, virtual and physical. Okay, so we'll talk about these two one by one. In the virtual carrier sense, it uses a timer mechanism known as NAV, that is network allocation vector, nav. That's what we call it, NAV. Okay, how this works is, if you remember from the previous video of duration ID, we see a value of duration ID in the MAC header, and every client in the vicinity has to hold on. It has to wait because the RF medium is busy for the value set in the duration ID field. Now what they do is, whenever they see a transmission happening, I'll give you an example. Let's say this is a client and this is talking to an access point, and we have another client. This is client A, this is client B, and we have another client, let's say client C. Okay, now this is talking to the API at this time, and it sets the duration ID value to be 10 microseconds. The moment it transmits a frame, since B is also in the vicinity and the client uses an Omni antenna, it will spray the signal in the air. B and C will also be able to hear this transmission, and now what they will do is, B will realize that yes, this medium is busy for 10 seconds, and C also will realize that yes, this medium is also busy for 10 seconds. Now C and B, they both will set their nav to 10 seconds, NAV. They will both set their nav to 10, and they will begin the countdown. Then the nav will go 9, 8, 7, like that, and then it's going to become 0. And once it becomes 0, that is when they can think about sending traffic. So the task, or the main reason why we do layer 2 nav setting, is to make sure that yes, if the medium is busy for 10 microseconds, every client in the vicinity who hears this, who's waiting to transmit data, will set their nav to that value, and then will begin the countdown one by one. Okay, that's what it does. That's the benefit of setting the nav, and that happens on layer 2. The physical carrier sense, on the other hand, let me see if I can scroll down, seems to be, let me bring up a new page. Okay, anyway, we'll forget about what is below this line, because it seems to be the software is misbehaving, but I'll talk about physical carrier sense here. Physical carrier sense, first of all, happens on layer 1, not on layer 2. Okay, now it is very much possible that a client which is in the vicinity is not able to hear the transmission happening on the original client for any reason. I mean, it could be possible that I am behind a desk, or I'm behind any others. Let's say I have an AP and I have a client here, and I'm transmitting data with this AP, client number A, and this is an AP. It is possible that one of my other client is, even though it is in the BSS, but let's say it is behind an obstruction. This is another client, and it is not, it could not hear what is happening between A and the AP. So to prevent that, even though its nav was not set, because it could not hear the transmission, it could not see the MAC header, it will do something called layer 1 physical carrier sense, which is basically doing CCA, which is clear channel assessment. Okay, it is doing CCA, which simply means that it is listening for the .11 RF transmissions at the physical medium. It is checking if there is any RF energy or RF transmissions happening on the physical medium, and then if it sees any RF energy, it will hold its transmission. That's how it will try to avoid collision. So even though nav was not set for this client, like in this particular video, in this particular page, nav was not set, but despite that, it does check on layer 1 and does a CCA, clear channel assessment, and then checks for the RF energy on the physical medium. If it sees any physical medium RF energy, it will halt the transmission. It will not send anything and it will halt. So this is another check. This is the third line of defense in DCF. One was, of course, the first one was interframe spacing. Second was duration ID field. Third is the physical and the virtual carrier sense. The fourth one is interesting. That is called random backoff timer, which we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.